such a gift. She was only supposed to be in, I think, 2 episodes was the original plan. And then, 22 episodes later. So it was a really awesome, she just is, she was a gift. She's tough and strong and just was really, I was, as an actor, was honored to be a part of the world of Gotham.
Yeah, and I imagine at the time, you're into the fourth season of Gotham. Probably season 1 and season 2 had already aired at that stage, and you probably have seen it. You would have known how popular and how big of a deal it was, all across America, all across Canada, the dozens and dozens of fans and legions that tuned into it every week. When you tried out for this role, dare I say, and maybe when your talent agent brought it to you, were you aware, first of all, that you were auditioning for Gotham? And dare I say, how did the opportunity come about to get cast in the role?
Sure. Yeah, I auditioned. I went in like any other audition that I was doing at the time. Before the pandemic, you get an audition submission from your agent, you accept, you go into the casting office, and you do the tape, the sides. I think at the time they're called dummy sides, so they weren't the real sides. So I did know it was Gotham, but I don't think I knew exactly what the character was going to be doing. So yeah, I went in, and then I actually went in twice for that. They had to call me back in, because I think the first time I went in, I think I was chewing gum. This is
Okay.
silly now. I would never do this now, but I was chewing gum, and they said they liked you, but they couldn't understand you very well. Can you come back in? So I had to go in again. And then I knew, I was like, okay, I'm really, in the running for this. So I need to kill it. So yeah, I actually remember having to go back in again twice, and then I found out I booked the job, but I still didn't even know. I didn't know what the scale of the character was going to be. I thought it was just like an episode or two, and I was happy to do that.
Yeah, so I imagine that, in terms of that, not really having much of a backstory in terms of to work on, in terms of Vanessa Harper. Did you want to play her robust? Did you want to play her a bit of a badass, a bit of a Bronx sort of vibe to her? What was the sort of tailing, or what did you sort of base it on in terms of, were you this gritty sort of no means business sort of a woman detective, that doesn't take no for an answer? What was your sort of essence, and what you sort of what I bring to this character?
Well, I knew that she was a part of the world, like that Harper is in the comics. So I knew she was a real character. So I did some backstory, and there's not much about her in the comics, but there's a picture of her, and she's a character. And I also knew that she had to be with the boys, right? She's going to be with the 2 leading males. So I knew she had to fit in with them. So, the tough, very tough, doesn't take anything from anybody, can handle her own, can fight, can, shoot, take care of herself. Because I knew she'd have to compete with the two boys.
Hmm. And tell me, when you walked into that sort of set, the police headquarters set of Jim Gordon and the police department of Gotham, what was that sort of like, that sort of set? Could you sort of describe it to me? Was it very sort of maybe 1940s, 1950s sort of a vibe to it? What was the whole sort of layout and sort of interior to it? And were you sort of taken back by all the little details that went into it?
Yeah, it definitely was. It's definitely that there was at the time, probably my biggest set, my biggest job I had been on. So the set is massive, right? It is with minus, there's no roof on top, but it is as big as a police station. Like, it's very big in real life. And yeah, there are a lot of moving parts. And at that time, I had joined in season 4. So it was already a moving train. Everyone knew their roles, everyone knew their things. They stand here, they do this and this and this. So I was kind of hopping on to a fast moving train. At the time. So it was yeah, the detail to everything, and the costumes, everything was very specific to the time period and very authentic. And I'm still very impressed to this day by the way that they held up the world of Gotham.
Yeah. And tell me, what was it like? Did you have many lines or interactions with Donal Logue throughout your time in Gotham, the famous Irish actor Donal? And dare I say, the sort of character that he sort of played was a jack of all trades. And was he very much like that when the camera stopped rolling as well, in terms of banter and humor?
Oh yeah, I would give anything to work with Donald again. He was the best. He was so welcoming and warm and funny. And he would, my favorite part about being on set with Donald was he would, during the breaks or when the cameras were down, he would just tell these stories. He just had these crazy, because he's been in the industry for so long and he's had so many experiences and he's met so many different types of people. And so we would just, a lot of people, he would like draw a crowd. Like people would just sit and listen to him tell his like really awesome stories of, his movies he used to do or people he used to met. Like, so I think he is a gem and really is even better than the person he portrays on screen. He is so warm and lovely and kind. And he cares about the work that he does and he cares about everyone around him. It was definitely one of the highlights of working on that show was being able to work with Donald.
And when did you get a feel, sort of, Kelcy, that your character Harper might be sort of recurring? Did you get that vibe maybe after your second or third episode? Oh, hold on for a second here. She seems to be popping up again and again. I seem to be getting the call here because a recurring role is sort of some might happen maybe 5-6 times, and it might be spread out maybe over say 3 to 4 seasons. But a recurring role over 2 seasons in terms of 22 episodes, I imagine that you almost felt like that you were a series regular rather than a recurring character.
Yeah, it did begin to feel like that. I think towards like in the middle of season 4, they started like normally when you go and you're a guest star like a one day, you get, it's called like stock costumes. Like you just get, what they have. They don't, but they started making like those suits, like they started to make them for me. So I kind of knew then that, oh, they're investing in my wardrobe, meaning that I'm going to stay around. Because if you're just there for a couple episodes, they're not really making anything for you. So that's when my kind of like the costume department kept saying, "Oh, we see you in the next episode," and like hair department was like, "Oh, I see you in the next episode," because they get the cost. Everybody behind the scenes gets the scripts in advance. But I still wouldn't even know until maybe a week or two before they would reach out to my agents. So it was still I spent those 2 seasons very much not knowing when I was going to be in the episodes or not.
And I suppose Kelsey's an awful lot. What we've done in terms of Gotham was an awful lot of actors that appeared on the show were actually fans of the show as well, in terms of actually were gripped off and actually like watching the series as well. And I imagine that you, when the time that you were cast in Gotham, that you had an awful lot of family and friends and loved ones, and there were probably followers of the show. And obviously, you're bound under the Disclosure Act. Was it so tempting sometimes when you knew sort of the plots and twists that might happen or tale, and they were like, come on, Kelcy, give us a pointer here or two. What might be in store next?
No, I think that's funny. I think when you're in the industry long enough, you just kind of know you don't spill the goods. All
Yeah.
that stuff stays close to the chest. So
And in terms of some of the guest stars and the guest villains that appeared on Gotham, and during your time, obviously being a recurring character, you would have seen people sort of come and go in terms of big names of the industry and some of the characters. Were you sort of blown away by the creativity of the scriptwriters and departments of each crooks that they were coming up each time for pitting you against in terms of the police department? The ingenious of it all.
oh yeah, those are some of the fun moments. Just all the characters that they created and the people they were able to bring in. Right, you're working with some legends and in the industry. So it was always a fun thing to see the scripts and see what they were going to create and how they were going to, how the GCPD was going to get out of the trouble. But yeah, I really enjoyed, and the costume department was incredible. So everyone looked really, really just authentic, and it was a great, that they did a really good job on that end.
And as the sort of episodes kept going, Kelcy, and you got sort of Harper became more and more regular, did you get to sort of input some of your ideas with the creative department in terms of maybe thinking about ideas? Did you pitch 1 or 2 ideas in terms of maybe a bit more about her backstory, or were you just wanting to soak in the experience and be a rebel that you were just part of the show and happy to do anything in terms of what they might lay out for your character?
Yeah, I think for me, I was definitely just happy to be a part. I trusted their vision for where they saw, Harper going. And, sometimes I would input on like style, like costume and hair and stuff, just because I wanted to, make sure that she stayed authentic to also to myself. But yeah, I just every day I was on set, I was so grateful to be there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I suppose Gotham is one of those things that it had hit such a massive fan base, and you're probably seen to this day in terms of fan mail coming your way, and probably sort of people still reaching out over Gotham these years later. And we see so many TV series now, maybe after a decade or so, or after time passes, and they get sort of reincarnations or other versions of them come out in terms of maybe animated series. We see an awful lot of actors do now, be doing voiceovers of characters that they played 10 years ago. And I'm just sort of curious and intrigued that if an animated or a cartoon version of Gotham came about and they came to you and said, would you like to do a voiceover of that your role as Harper, would that something that appeal to you, or you just know I want to be seen in front of the lights in terms of how I want to portray her?
No, I love voiceover work's actually very it's very tricky, but I would love the opportunity. Yeah, I would not turn that down. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah. And in terms of being involved in the whole Batman and the whole Gotham sort of universe, in terms of that, and having to spend as much time as you did in terms of season 4 and season 5, has you made you respect the genre and the whole world a bit more? Have you sort of taken into it a bit in terms of investing in that sort of world, given the character that you played in it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the world, I mean, like you mentioned before, the fandom of Gotham is still impressive to me. I'm still impressed by the dedication of the fans to the world. So yeah, I think I also grew up with a brother, so I always knew the comics and the I was always kind of at least familiar with the world. So I think that I was impressed at how they were able to wrap that story and make it into a series like they did, like take the comic and turn it into a real show and with real characters that you care about and want to see win so yeah, I do love the world and I do respect the world that they created.
And I suppose before we came on air, Kelcy Griffin, you mentioned to me that you had been in Ireland in the past. You might enlighten our listeners or audience about that sort of experience, and when did you come and what were your memories?
Yeah. Oh, I actually cannot wait to come back to Ireland. I went, me and my husband visited in 2019. And I'm a golfer. So we went to Ireland to play golf and it was so lovely. We stayed in Dublin and then just outside of Dublin, for about, I think 9 days. And it was majestic, like the views and the water and the food. We were actually, it's one of our places that I really, really cannot wait to come back and visit.
Okay, and I do believe it's a busy time for you as well. You're invested in another project at the moment that may or may not be coming our way in the near future.
Yeah, there's a short film that I'm a part of called Matinee. That is it's in the film circuit right now, so it's popping up here and there across the country in different film festivals, so be on the lookout for that.
Okay. And Kelsey Griffin, final question to you now. And let's pretend there was a Gotham encyclopedia, a dictionary as such, and they put your character, Vanessa Harper, Detective Vanessa Harper, into that encyclopedia, and they left two blank sentences underneath, like a synopsis in terms of the character, not really an epitaph, but a synopsis. And they came to you, the talent agent came back to you and said, listen, Kelsey, they want you to write those two sentences to describe Vanessa Harper after playing her. What would you like those two sentences to read?
She was tough as nails and she could survive and get through anything.